Imagine a world where your life savings, everything you've worked for, becomes worthless overnight. This isn't a dystopian fantasy. This was reality in Germany, 1923. The Great War had ended, but a new, insidious war was being waged against the German people, a war of hyperinflation. The government, desperate to pay off crippling war debts, just kept printing more and more money. The result? Catastrophe. Picture this. A loaf of bread that cost 1 mark in the morning would cost 1,000 by the afternoon. People weren't just poor. The very concept of money had become a joke. They used wheelbarrows, not wallets, to carry cash for simple groceries. Children played with stacks of banknotes like they were building blocks. In the bitter cold of winter, families burned money for heat because it was cheaper than buying firewood. The value of their currency had evaporated so completely that it was more useful as kindling than as cash. This was a nation on its knees. The economy was in ruins, society was fracturing, and despair was everywhere. How do you come back from that? How do you rebuild a nation when the foundation of its economy, its money, has turned to ash? You'd think they needed a miracle, perhaps a massive bailout or the discovery of a mountain of gold. But what happened next was far more incredible, and it wasn't about money at all. In the darkest hour, a man named Hjalmar Schacht, the newly appointed currency commissioner, came up with a plan so audacious, so utterly mad, it just might work. He introduced a new currency, the Rentenmark. So what was this magical new money backed by? Gold? Silver? Foreign reserves? No, it was backed by nothing. Well, not exactly nothing. It was backed by a mortgage on all the land and industrial assets in Germany. But here's the crucial part. No one could actually go to a bank and trade their Rentenmarks for a piece of land. It was a promise, a national IOU. In essence, the Rentenmark was backed by pure belief. The government looked its people in the eye and said, "Trust us. This new money will hold its value, we promise." And the most astonishing thing happened. They did. The German people, traumatized and exhausted, chose to believe. They accepted the Rentenmark. Almost overnight, the chaos stopped. Prices stabilized. The wheelbarrows disappeared from the streets. A single Rentenmark was pegged to 1 trillion of the old, worthless papier marks. The fire of hyperinflation was extinguished, not with gold or silver, but with the collective faith of a nation. This wasn't just an economic recovery, it was a psychological one. Germany had stared into the abyss and pulled itself back, powered by sheer willpower and trust. But this incredible story of revival doesn't end there. Just 2 decades later, Germany was once again a landscape of rubble and ruin. World War II had left the country physically and morally shattered. The nation was divided, its cities were flattened, and its economy was a ghost. The official currency, the Reichsmark, was nearly as useless as the papier mark before it. People resorted to a primitive barter system on the black market, trading cigarettes, coffee, and nylon stockings for essential goods. The official economy was paralyzed. Once again, Germany needed a hero, and he came in the form of a stout, cigar-chomping economist named Ludwig Erhard. In 1948, as the Director of Economics for the Allied occupied zones, Erhard was tasked with reviving West Germany. The Allies had a plan, a slow, cautious, centrally planned recovery. Erhard had a different idea, a much bolder one. On a Sunday, when the Allied military offices were closed, Erhard went on the radio and made a stunning announcement. Without permission, he declared an end to rationing and price controls for most goods. It was a massive gamble. His advisors were horrified. The Allied generals were furious. General Lucius Clay, the American military governor, confronted him, saying, "Herr Erhard, my advisors tell me what you have done is a terrible mistake." Erhard's legendary reply, "General, my advisors tell me the same thing." Same. Simultaneously, a new currency was introduced, the Deutsche Mark. Every citizen was given a starting allowance of just 40 new marks. It wasn't a lot of money, but it was sound. It was trusted. And combined with Erhard's shock therapy of deregulation, the effect was instantaneous and electrifying. It was called the Wirtschaftswunder, the economic miracle. The very next day, shop windows that had been empty for years were suddenly filled with goods. The black market vanished. People stopped bartering with cigarettes and started using the new Deutsche Mark. Why? Because they believed in it. They saw that prices were stable and that goods were available. They trusted that the money they earned today would be worth the same tomorrow. Erhard's philosophy was simple: free the people, and the economy will follow. He trusted the German people's capacity for hard work, innovation, and enterprise, and in return, they trusted the new system he had created. In the years that followed, West Germany rose from the ashes to become one of the world's most powerful economies. Factories were rebuilt, exports soared, and the Made in Germany label became a global symbol of quality and reliability. Again, the foundation of this miracle wasn't just about printing new money. It was about creating a currency and a system worthy of people's trust. It was about courage, belief, and a shared vision for the future. So we have two moments in German history, two apocalypses, two miraculous recoveries. One fueled by a currency backed by a promise, the other by a bold act of faith in free markets. Both stories teach us a profound lesson. The true value of money isn't just the paper it's printed on or the gold in a vault. It's a social contract. It's the shared belief that this token, this piece of paper, this digital number on a screen represents a stable store of value. When that belief shatters, the entire system collapses, no matter how much money there is. When that belief is restored, even from nothing, miracles can happen. This brings us to today. We live in a world of complex financial instruments, staggering government debt, and currencies that are created with a keystroke. We hear whispers of inflation creeping back, devaluing our savings day by day. We see the rise of digital currencies like Bitcoin, born from a deep distrust of traditional financial systems, a new kind of money backed not by a government's promise, but by a mathematical code. The German experience is not just a historical curiosity, it's a stark and relevant warning. It shows how fragile that collective belief in our money truly is. We take it for granted that the dollar, the euro, the yen will be there for us tomorrow. But history shows that this is not guaranteed. When governments spend recklessly, when they print money without restraint, they are not just creating inflation. They are eroding the very trust that underpins our entire way of life. Look around. Does our system feel stable? Do we trust the institutions managing our economies? These aren't just academic questions. They are deeply personal. The story of the Rentenmark and the Deutsche Mark forces us to look at the numbers in our own bank accounts and ask a difficult, haunting question. Could our money collapse the same way Germany's did? Could our modern, sophisticated financial system prove to be just as fragile as a wheelbarrow full of worthless paper? And if it does, what will save us? Could it be that the ultimate backstop, the final reserve, isn't gold or government power, but our own collective belief in something better? The past gives us no easy answers, only a chilling reminder of what's at stake. Thank you for watching. If this story made you think, please hit the like button, subscribe for more content that goes beyond the headlines, and share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear what you think. See you next time.